Good morning everyone. Welcome to all fours e-learning classes. This is Zoology subject. Topic chemical coordination and control integration. Session 6. The subtopic is parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland is the gland which is located on the back of the thyroid glands. That is, we have discussed the thyroid gland is bilobed, present on the larynx region, on either side of the larynx, just above the trachea. This bilobed is connected by isthmus. So within the thyroid, on its back side, there arranged the four parathyroid glands are present. Look at here. These are the parathyroid glands. Parathyroid gland secretes a proteinoid hormone, name it to be the parathormone. Parathormone, it is also said to be the parathyroid hormone. It is abbreviated in the form of the PTH, parathormone. And it is also named to be, in another term, it is said to be the Collip's hormone. Named after the discoverer name, that is the scientist. So the parathyroid gland is the gland present at the posterior or back of the thyroid gland. They are four in number and they secretes a proteinoid hormone, name it to be the parathormone or parathyroid hormone. It is also named to be the Collip's hormone, and it is given an abbreviation in the form of the PTH, parathormone. Parathormone, it is a proteinoid hormone. This parathyroid gland is the gland which is of the endodermal in origin. Endodermal. We have discussed the list of the endocrine glands. That is, the ectodermal origin are pituitary, pineal, hypothalamus, adrenal medulla, whereas mesodermal, adrenal cortex, kidneys, thymus and gonads, whereas endodermal origin is thyroid, parathyroid and pancreas. So parathyroid gland is the gland situated on the back of the thyroid glands, four in number, and this secretes the parathormone, PTH. It is also named to be the Collip's hormone. It is the discoverer name and it is of endodermal in origin. Parathyroid gland secreting the parathormone. Parathormone function is it stimulates the osteoclast of the bone. Osteoclast. It activates the osteoclast. What do you mean by osteoclast? It stimulates the osteoclast. It activates the osteoclast. Osteoclast play a role in bone resorption, or demineralization, and it is also bone dissolution, or else the bone dissolution is the function played by, is the role played by the parathormone. Generally, parathyroid gland is with the two kinds of the cells, chief cells, many in number, numerous, and a large oxyphilic. The chief cells itself secretes the parathormone, PTH, Collip's hormone. This, whereas the oxyphil cells are of unknown function. Next, the function of the parathormone is to activate the osteoclast. What is osteoclast is the question you raise. Osteoclasts are nothing but the macrophages of the bone. We have discussed earlier, as long as the monocytes present in the blood, they remain as it is. But when they come out of the blood and reach the connective tissues, they form the macrophages. That is, in the case of the liver, they are said to be the Hepatic macrophages, name it to be the Kupffer cells. In the case of the synovial joint, it is synovial cells. In the case of the bone, osteoclast. Wandering macrophages and histiocytes in the case of the areolar connective tissue. Likewise, we see the case with the osteoclast. They are the macrophages, that is, they play a role in bone resorption, demineralization, bone dissolution, which means the osteoclast once activated, the demineralization, the calcium and the phosphorus that is present in the calcium and phosphorus present in the bone is reached into the blood. So the role of the parathormone is to increase the calcium and the phosphorus levels in the blood. It increases the calcium level. That is the reason why parathormone is treated to be the hypercalcemic hormone. Hyper in the sense the more calcium level. How? By activating the osteoclast, that is bone resorption, demineralization. Generally the bone which include the calcium phosphate, calcium carbonate. So the calcium phosphate which is dissociated and the calcium present in the bone is reached into the blood. This is named to be the bone resorption or demineralization or bone dissolution. So increases the calcium levels in the blood. Calcium levels in the blood is increased by parathormone. So it is said to be the hypercalcemic hormone. Besides that, parathormone also play a vital role in the absorption of the calcium from renal tubule. Thereby it increases the calcium levels in the blood. And also it play a role in the absorption of calcium from the gastrointestinal tract. This is how the calcium levels in the blood is increased by parathormone. Hence it is treated to be the hypercalcemic hormone. Generally, in the endocrine system, there is a tendency that the levels of a hormone is influenced by the another endocrine gland. For suppose, if the growth hormone levels are decreased, somatocrenin, that is growth hormone releasing hormone, increased, which increases the growth hormone level, so that causes the growth. And not only this, the thyroid stimulating hormone, this is the hormone which stimulates the secretion of the thyroxine. And once the thyroxine levels are normalized, it is the TSH will be the secretion is ceased. That is a hormone whose secretion is influenced by other gland. But the case with the parathormone is not at all influenced. But the calcium levels in the blood itself regulates the secretion of the parathormone. For suppose if calcium levels in the blood decreased, as a feedback mechanism, the parathormone is stimulated and it activates the osteoclast and calcium levels in the blood is increased. Once the calcium level normalized, if the calcium is excessive, automatically the calcitonin, thyrocalcitonin, earlier we have discussed, that is parafollicle cells of the thyroid gland secretes thyrocalcitonin, thyrocalcitonin decreases the calcium levels in the blood, and thereby it counter affects the action of the parathormone. Thereby the parathormone and calcitonin are said to be the antagonistic hormone. The list of the antagonistic hormones we have discussed: insulin, glucagon, MSH, melatonin, parathormone, calcitonin. These are all the hormone that one somatocrine, somatostatin, these are all one against the another. The list of the antagonistic hormone. So in this connection also, the calcium level itself causes the release secretion of the parathormone, but not by any other hormone. The levels of the calcium, if decreased, automatically the parathormone is stimulated to secrete. Once its level become the excessive, then thyrocalcitonin is secreted. This is how the action of the parathormone is counter effect. It is counter affecting to that of the thyrocalcitonin. They maintain. So this is how the insulin and the glucagon maintain the balance of the glucose levels. In the same manner, the calcitonin as well as parathormone maintains the calcium levels in the blood. This is how the parathyroid and parathormone function can be studied. Besides that, generally the parathormone is also acting upon vitamin D. What is the chemical name of vitamin D? Vitamin D is in an inactive form, name it to be the calciferol. Calciferol. Vitamin D, it is an inactive form called calciferol. This calciferol is activated to form calcitrol hormone, calcitrol. Once the calcitrol is formed, calcitrol is the active form of calciferol, vitamin D. This calcitrol responsible for absorption of the calcium from gastrointestinal tract, and also it play a role in absorption of the calcium from renal tubule. So indirectly the calcium levels are increased by the parathormone by activating the osteoclast. Next, that in turn causes the bone resorption, demineralization, bone dissolution, and it is activating the calciferol, the inactive form of the D vitamin, into active hormone, name it to be the calciferol, which in turn play a role in the absorption of the calcium from the gastrointestinal tract as well as the renal tubule. This is how the calcium levels are increased by parathormone. So it is the hypercalcemic hormone. So the calcium level balance is maintained by two hormones. One, the parathormone, and another is none other than thyrocalcitonin, which can be also treated. They are the antagonistic to each other and a counter effect, that is the hormones one perform against the another. This is the detail about the parathyroid gland. Let's see how far the disorders are influenced in the human being, that is hypoparathyroidism and hyperparathyroidism. Hypoparathyroidism, lower secretion of the parathormone is said to be the hypoparathyroidism. Look at here, hypoparathyroidism, hypoparathyroidism, thyroidism. Hypo means lower secretions of the parathormone. So activation of the osteoclast do not takes place. Absorption of calcium from gastrointestinal tract as well as from the renal tubule. So calcium remain in the bone as well as in the muscles as well as in the case of the neurons. One point to remember that calcium is the most important mineral in the metabolism process. Why? We have already discussed. Calcium is very important in blood coagulation. Calcium is very important in muscle contraction. Calcium playing vital role in nerve impulse propagation and also the strengthening of the bone. So in this connection, if the calcium levels are decreased, that is in the blood, we are all discussing this related to that of the blood. When the parathyroid secretion decreases, calcium remain in the bone, calcium remain in the muscle and the neurons. So, as the calcium remain in the muscle, what do we find? The sustained contraction. That is, the calcium that remain in the muscle results in sustained contraction, which is named to be the muscle spasm. Sustained contraction of the muscles. Sustained contraction of muscles, which is what is it to be the muscle spasm, also treated as tetany. Sustained contraction of the muscles is named to be the tetany. That is, the muscles of the larynx, the muscles of the face, tongue are remained in a sustained contraction, which is said to be the hypoparathyroid tetany. Parathyroid tetany, it is also named to be our hypocalcemic tetany. It is said to be sustained contraction. Better you recall, the more the calcium ions in the muscles, the more it's a contraction. So the muscles remain in a contraction for a long period. So it is result in the sustained contraction of the face as well as the tongue, larynx, and also the limbs are remain in a sustained contraction, which is named to be the parathyroid tetany or hypocalcemic tetany. Why we are naming the parathyroid tetany or hypocalcemic tetany? Generally, the bacterial infection also results in Clostridium tetani. Tetanus also causes bacterial infection. That's what here it is in a hormonal imbalance. That is hypoparathyroidism results in a tetany. Next, hyperparathyroidism. Hyperparathyroidism. Hyperparathyroidism is excessive secretion of parathormone. Excessive secretion of parathormone causes excessive increasing in the level of the calcium in the blood. The excessive secretion of the parathormone, more excessive activation, that is the osteoclast are activated more. So more demineralization, bone dissolution, bone resorption takes place, resulting in the bones what forms cavities. Cavities are filled with the fibers, results in osteosis fibrosa cystica. Osteosis fibrosa cystica, which means due to hyper secretion of the parathormone, cavities are formed in the bone, results in the accumulation of the fibrous tissue, results in osteosis fibrosa cystica, or else it is named to be the osteoporosis. This cavities in the bone, when cavities in the bone takes place, bones easily fragile, broken, easily break. This is more happens with that of it is an age related disorder, particularly with that of the females who underwent the menopause. post-menopause women are more prone for the osteoporosis. Why? Due to hormonal imbalance. Particularly, this happens in the post-menopause. Menopause in the sense cessation of menstrual cycle. One of the reason is the lower secretion of estrogen also. So, the hyperparathyroidism results in osteosis, fibrosis, cystic or osteoporosis, where the cavities are formed in the bones which are filled by means of the fibers. That's what osteosis, fibrosis, cystica. And bones become feeble and fragile, easily broken. This is particularly happen with that of the post-menopause woman. Besides that, the more the calcium in the blood results in accumulation of the calcium in the kidneys, results in kidney stones. There we name a term, name it to be the groans, moans, stones. Groans, moans and stones is a condition what we see in the case of the hyperparathyroidism. What do you mean by that? That is, kidneys with more accumulation of the calcium, kidney stones. That is it is that due to the accumulation of the salts, they remain deposited in the kidney, that is kidney stones. Why? The absorption of the calcium from renal tubule is failed. One point. Second point, moans and groans are related to the psychological disorders as well as gastrointestinal disorder. That is, even from the gastrointestinal tract, the calcium is not absorbed. And neural condition results in a psychological condition, wickedness. So that is groans, moans and stones. So this is what we do discuss the parathyroid gland disorders, that is the hypoparathyroidism results in a sustained contraction of the muscles, which is the parathyroid tetany or hypocalcemic tetany, and hyperparathyroidism results in osteosis, fibrosis, cystica or osteoporosis and kidney stones, moans and groans. This is what related to that of the parathyroid gland. Next, we'll move on to the thymus gland. Thymus gland. Thymus gland is the gland which is of the mesodermal in origin. We have just discussed that the kidneys, gonads, adrenal cortex as well as the thymus are of the mesodermal in origin. So that's what now we'll discuss. Thymus gland. Thymus gland is considered to be of mesodermal in origin. It is a mesodermal origin. It is a lobed gland, and thymus is of large in size at the time of the birth. Progressively as the age progresses, it becomes shrinks. Thymus is the endocrine gland which is situated in the mediastinum cavity between the two lungs, above the heart and aorta, below the breastbone. This is the important for every thyroid gland. We have discussed the origin and its location. So it is a lobed structure present. The location, it is of mesodermal in origin, and its location is it is present above the heart, that is between the two lungs. We discussed that they are present mediastinum cavity, that is above the heart and aorta. The thymus gland is present below the breastbone. What do you mean by breastbone? The sternum. So below the sternum, above the heart and the aorta, on the ventral side, the thymus is located. Thymus is the gland which is as the age progresses, it shrinks and disappear. That's the reason why old people have less immunity, because of the atrophying, disintegrating thymus gland. Thymus gland secretes a peptide hormone, name it to be the thymosin. It is a peptide hormone. Thymosin is what activates. This activates the lymphocytes, activates the T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, we know very well that the thymus is considered to be the primary lymphoid organs. In the immune system, we discuss red bone marrow and thymus are primary lymphoid organs. The pre-B cells and pre-T cells produced in the bone marrow, pre-B cells are converted to form B lymphocytes, whereas pre-T cells enters into the thymus glands. In the thymus gland, because of the thymosin, a peptide hormone, the T lymphocytes are matured. Maturation of lymphocytes takes place in the thymus. That's what they are named to be, the T lymphocytes. T refers to thymus. And these T lymphocytes play a vital role. We know very well. T lymphocytes are T helper T cytotoxic. Activation of T lymphocytes, maturation of the T lymphocytes play a role in cell-mediated immunity, as well as the humoral immunity. Here the point to remember that the T cells are of TC cells, T helper cells, that are with the cell differentiation 4 and cell differentiation 8. The TC cells, which play a role in the destruction of the infected cells, that is the apoptosis, programmed cell death of the infected cells, which is named to be the cell-mediated immunity, where the infected cells is destroyed. Cell lysis, that's what cell-mediated immunity, as cells are involved. Whereas the case with the humoral immunity, in the sense, the T lymphocytes, which stimulate the B lymphocytes to produce the antibodies. Antibodies are present in the humors. That's what it is named to be the humoral immunity. Collectively, maturation of the T lymphocytes helps in the CMI, cell-mediated immunity, and humoral immunity. So this is how the immune system done by means of thymus gland. So naturally, as the age progresses, it shrinks, atrophies. So naturally, immune system reduces. That's what we do discuss in the case of the thymus gland. Apart from that, in its the thymus gland, there present Husserl's corpuscles. Very, very important, Husserl's corpuscles. Husserl's corpuscles are present in the thymus gland. They are considered to be the thymus gland macrophages and are of phagocytosis in function. This is the detail regarding the thymus gland. Next, we move on to the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland. So, the point to remember regarding the thymus gland, the disorder is, as the gland itself shrinks, the immunity decreases. That's what we do discuss in this connection. And the aging is what happened to be takes place, early aging. Now it is adrenal gland. Adrenal gland is considered to be suprarenal gland. Adrenal gland is considered to be the suprarenal gland. Suprarenal gland. What do you mean by this? It means the kidneys above the kidney Above the kidney, the adrenal gland is present. Above the kidney, the adrenal gland is present. Hence, it is named to be the suprarenal gland. And as the kidney is with the two regions, cortex and medulla, so the adrenal gland is also cortex and medulla. Thank you.